Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street, and today we are taking a look at the Composr content management system. Alright everyone, so Composr is my favorite content management system. I'm just going to say right at the top of the video, I've used quite a few of them. I've used WordPress on various websites for various different people and organizations. I've also used Drupal for nerdonthestreet.com in the past. I've used a few others as well. I've also used forum systems like MyBB. I've used hosted platforms like WebJam and Webs. But Composr is my favorite content management system. It has every feature under the sun built in, and you can turn on the features you want and just not use the features you don't. It is extremely customizable. You can change it into basically whatever you want it to be. And Composr is the content management system running on nerdonthestreet.com. Now, in case you're not familiar, what is a content management system? Basically, it's a program that runs on a web server that manages the content on your website. Imagine if I had to hand code every single page on nerdonthestreet.com. Every time I uploaded a new video, I would have to make a new page from scratch to add the video to. I would have to add that video's link to every single other page's menu bar. A lot of manual coding would be needed. A content management system basically just automatically takes care of a lot of things on a website, so you don't have to code everything by hand. It gives you a starting point so that you can basically focus on the content you're making and not focus as much on coding your website. That said, if you're going to be making a custom website, you're still probably going to have to interact with and customize your content management system a lot. And I find it very, very easy to customize and use Composr to do whatever I need it to do. So today I'm going to be showing you how I'm using Composr at nerdonthestreet.com. Now, I don't use all the features that are in Composr. There are plenty of features in Composr I don't use. There are also some custom things that I have done with nerdonthestreet.com that you will not find with a default Composr install. But this series of videos is just going to be showing you how I use Composr for nerdonthestreet.com. Now, originally I just wanted to make one video about this, but it ran super long. So this first video is just about the templating system in Composr. The templating system lets you include code in several pages. It makes it easy to include one page within another page. It's a basic building block of Composr and a basic building block of building web pages using a content management system. Composer's templating system has a lot of different options. You can pass variables between different templates. It even has its own programming language. So without further ado, I'm going to cut to the desktop now, and we're going to take a look at how I use Composr on nerdonthestreet.com, specifically the templating system. So here we are on the desktop, and this is the Nerd on the Street homepage we're looking at right here. Now, before we jump into how I'm using Composr on my website, I do just want to let you know, if you want to grab Composr for yourself, if you see anything you think is interesting in this video and you want to go check it out, the website is compo.sr, just compo.sr, and that leads to the Composr website. On this website, there's a download link. You can go and download it. You can check it out. There's forums and everything on here as well. The developer's absolutely awesome. They talk to lots of people. Once you go past the big long rule page there, and here it is. Now, this website is running on Composr, and as you can see, it's kind of themed a little bit, but it's fairly just a generic forum. If we come over here to the homepage, you can see a screenshot here of Composr, and it's just, once again, kind of generic forum. It's got like a calendar widget on the side. And when you first install Composr, it is pretty generic, but you can customize the heck out of it, and that's how I've arrived at the current Nerd on the Street website. Now, my website is still under active development. This is not a finished website here, although I've been working on it for over a year now, this particular version of it. Still lots of things that are on my to-do list to tweak and get changed. But this is where we're at right now, and this is how I'm using Composr. So first of all, this is the front page. Like I said, how do we arrive here? How do we get a front page that looks like our front page does? Let's just start right at the beginning. So if we scroll down to the bottom of the screen here, because I'm logged in and I'm an admin, there's a link to the admin zone. I'll just open that up in a new tab here. This is what Composr looks like behind the scenes, and this is fairly default. I have not customized the backend too much since I'm usually the only one logging into here. Now, if you're setting this up for somebody else to log into, you can actually theme the backend of Composr just like you can theme the front end. But like I said, I just leave it the default. More or less, I added this little link here to post new content just for my own convenience, but there are lots of different options in Composr. All these different drop-down menus go to all kinds of even sub-menus that you can go into and do all kinds of crazy things. Now this first page here, I honestly don't use hardly anything on this first page. This checklist, I don't use that checklist. The tip of the day is kind of neat sometimes, or just tips. It changes every time you refresh the page. The most important thing on this front page of the admin dashboard is your update notifier. Anytime there's an update available, you'll see a notification in this box. It'll say, click this link to update. It'll open up the updater. It's fairly smooth. I can't show you that right now because there's not an update out, but fairly smooth. You've got a moderation log here. Once again, I don't need to log myself, or I don't need to view my own logs of me doing a bunch of crap. But yeah, this is the dashboard. Now, how do we get a home page that looks like this? So one of the most powerful things, I think, in Composr is the templating system. In the template system, it allows you to make code, HTML or PHP or any type of code, and put it within other pages and nest pages within pages. And when it's all put together, it's one entire web page. But each one of these little pieces here is a different template. We've got a template for our main content here, a template for the sidebar, and a template for the header here. And we'll kind of take a look at that. We're going to go to the style area here, and even though it's templating is what we're doing, it's classified under theming as far as Composr is concerned. So we're going to go to manage themes, and here, Nerd on the Street, this is the theme in the middle here that we are actually using here. So these are both our CSS and our templates are contained within the Nerd on the Street theme. So we're going to open up both of these things just so we can take a look at both. CSS, just to get it out of the way, this is what the CSS editor looks like. Most of my CSS goes in the global file, but you can have individual CSS pages, as you can see here. If you click edit on a CSS page, you get this editor. Once it loads up there, you can scroll through everything, and you can see at the bottom of mine, I've gone and added lots of custom IDs and custom classes that I use, but I've also customized a great deal of this default CSS that comes with the default theme. There's a lot of CSS here, and usually what I have to do to edit CSS, because there's so much of it, I just right click on what I want to edit, I inspect elements, I come in here and I change whatever I want to change within inspect element, and then after I get it looking the way I want it to look, then I come over to CSS and just put whatever I did in here into the file so that it takes effect. So that's CSS. How about this templating system though? Well, every single page on your website includes the topmost template in the hierarchy, and that is the global HTML template. So if we come here to our HTML templates section, you can see there's also JavaScript templates as well as XML templates. But we're just looking at HTML for now for the layout of our website. If we type in global HTML, this is a template called global HTML wrap. There's one for desktop and one for mobile. They are separate. It is possible to just have one for both if you turn on responsive mode, or I think you just have to turn off the mobile website and then you'll use global HTML wrap even if you are on a mobile device. I've got the mobile website set up so it looks a little bit different than the main website, so that's why I've got a separate mobile wrap there. But for desktops, we've got global HTML wrap. And by the way, because there are so many of these templates, for convenience, underneath anything that says Nerd on the Street templates custom, these are templates that I have customized, and then anything under default templates, I have not customized. They are the default Composr templates. Now, if I were to update or upgrade Composr right now to a newer version, if there was an update available, it would update any template, as far as I know, it would update any template that has not been changed yet, but anything that I have changed myself, anything in the Nerd on the Street theme, it's not going to overwrite. It only updates the default theme. So that's very nice because your changes are saved between versions. So we'll go into global HTML wrap to see what's going on here. And this is what the global HTML wrap looks like. Now, if we right click on our website and click view page source, you'll see doc type HTML, and then the comment powered by Composr are right here immediately, doc type HTML powered by Composr. So this is the template we're looking at. And you can even take away the powered by Composr comment if you want to. I leave it in there because I think Composr is awesome, but if you do need to white label this, you can do that manually. So as you can see, the very first include we have, and this is how the templating system works. We've got, like I said, this is the overall master template. Every page starts with this, and then we include other templates. The first include is right here. As you can see, it says start include HTML head. Now you might be wondering, where did this come from? What's with these curly brackets here? What is going on? Start and end, that doesn't look like HTML. That's because it's not HTML, it's temp code. And Composr is actually so powerful that it's got its own programming language built in called Timcode. And there's an entire manual on the Composr website about Timcode. So this is the Timcode programming documentation page. And if we do a Control F for include, we'll find eventually here directive name, include, and what it does is it includes a template in another and passes parameters to it. So that is exactly what we're doing right here. We are including the HTML head template within this template right here between the opening and closing head tag. So you can see we've got opening head tag, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff. So all that other stuff is in a separate template called HTML head, and it's right there. We can edit that. And these are Timcode comments. Anything that starts with a $sign is a Timcode comment. And the very first meta line we have, meta content type. If we go here, meta content type, very first line right there. So you can see that this entire all of this code has been included inside of this template, a global template, just with this one line of code. So now every time we update the head, we can update that one head file here, this one template for the head file, and that will update it here in the global HTML wrap, and then it will take effect on every single page in our website, not just the front page, but every page. Underneath the head, we've got the body here. And this is where things get a little more interesting in terms of templating. Inside the body, we've got a wrapping div called main website inner, and then we've got a timcode line here that says if we have the option turned on to show the header, which we usually do, then it prints out all of the header code. And the header code would be the main logo, which is this logo right here, and also the main menu, which is our top menu right here. That's all included in the header. If you're a guest, if you're not logged in, then it shows a login form. We can check with Timcode if someone is a guest or not. So we can show things to somebody who's not logged in, like a login form, or if you are logged in, if you are not a guest, then we're going to show you the top buttons with your notifications and your personal stats, which are right here. Here's our notifications, and then here is there's my inbox, and then my personal statistics right there. So immediately you can see how powerful that is. Just the content management system provides a way for us to check if somebody's registered or not and show different things to different groups of people. And you can even go more in depth with that. We'll see a bit later. Continuing down our global HTML wrap here. If you're not on a mobile device. Now, I actually said before that this template is not used on phones. That's actually incorrect. This template is used on mobile devices, but most of the stuff is not shown through this template. Down here underneath everything, if you are on a mobile device, it's going to include the global HTML wrap mobile template within this one. So the header is going to come from the same place whether you're on a phone or not, and the CSS just takes care of the differences there. But if you're not on a phone, if you're not on mobile, you're on a desktop computer, the first thing we're going to print is panel top. Now we actually don't have panel top, and you can see start if non-empty panel top. And the reason, if we look at if we just look at our website here, we do not have a top panel. Like I said, this is part of the header, the navigation, this is part of the header here. If we had a top panel, which you configure elsewhere in the system, then it would show it, but since it's empty, it knows it's smart enough not to put an empty div there. Underneath that, we've got the main panels and content, as you can see in the comment there. Global middle outer float surrounder is another wrapper div, and then I've added an ID to it myself so that I can style it easier. Once again, if the left panel is not empty, then we are going to show the left panel. And you can see there's just a timcode directive to load panel left. So the left panel is right here, and it's actually not treated as a template. It's not loaded from a template file. It's actually loaded from the zones comcode page. And I'm saying lots of words here I haven't gone over yet. So where does this panel come from if the panel does not come from a template? Well, in Composr, in addition to the custom programming language called Timcode, which we can see here, there is also a markup language called Comcode. And you can think of Timcode as sort of Composer's more localized and easier to use version of PHP. It does server-side stuff and decides what to send out. Comcode is sort of Composer's own version of HTML, or own interface to HTML. Now it does run on the server because it gets sent to the web browser as HTML still, but whereas Timcode decides what to show and what not to show, Comcode is what actual content you're putting on the page. So if we go into our admin zone here, then we can go into content. You can see there's a section for pages, and then in parentheses it says Comcode pages. And basically, instead of writing a page in HTML, you can choose to write it in Comcode, or as I often do, see this page is in Comcode, it's using these blocks, but then you can also make a page such as this one where it's a Comcode page, but I use an HTML tag within the Comcode page, and then I can just put regular old HTML inside of it like you see here. So in our list of Comcode pages, one of the pages here, if we go on through to the second page, panel left. So this right here, if we edit panel left, this is our sidebar right here. So the search box is the first box we've got there in our panel. We've got some Comcode first and some JavaScript and some hidden IDs, but down here, right down here, it's kind of buried within everything else, but we do have a block called main search. And once again, that is a Comcode block there. We've also got a block called side stats, and that would be our statistics block. And then there's a bunch of other things. Now, a lot of the stuff up here is actually out of date and irrelevant. Like this podcast links div, this entire div never shows up. If we right click our sidebar here actually right now, and we look at, we've got some hidden divs in here like podcast links that used to show up when you were watching rolling release. We've also got live schedule was on the old live stream page, but I have redesigned the player page and the live stream page. They don't have sidebars anymore, so you're never going to see those blocks. So really I need to remove those from the sidebar, which I will probably be doing very shortly after this video now that I remembered that they're there. But yeah, that's how we get the sidebar. The sidebar is a Comcode page, so it's treated just like any other page on your website. You can just put content into here, and then our template, which is programmed in Timcode, our template loads the left panel, and that's how we end up with the nice sidebar. And then for our actual content here, you can see the middle, we've got, well, it says if non-empty load panel right. We do not have a right sidebar. But underneath here, we've got an article container that is the global middle. And once again, I've added my own ID for easier styling. Underneath that, we've got a global messages section for when you're interacting with the website. You might see messages at the top of the screen. We've got an anchor for main content to skip underneath the header. We've got, here is the panel bottom, if not empty. Once again, we don't have anything on our bottom panel, so it's not showing it, but if we did, it would show a panel at the bottom of the screen. Now before that, you see here, this middle right here, once again, if we're not on mobile, then show the middle, which is our content. And in this case, that content is actually a Comcode page. If we click edit this page, you can see once again, this is the Comcode page edit screen, and this is semi-HTML, which means you can use HTML or Comcode inside of the semi-HTML tag. We've got a block for our front page news, and you can see their title equals latest content. It says at the top of the screen, latest content. And this block actually goes, and blocks are getting into even more complicated stuff. This block has a PHP file that when we call it through Comcode, then it loads the PHP file and passes in these parameters that we put. So it's loading up our news PHP file and saying, I want categories number 23, 12, 13, 8, 9, and any blogs. And I want to put those all on the front page. So this is just a page right here. And then the sidebar is a separate page. The template includes both of those in addition to the header, which is its own section of the global HTML template. And then the actual HTML head is a separate template itself. At the bottom of the screen, we've got a footer, which if we keep going through here in our global HTML wrap down near the bottom, we've got if the show footer option is turned on, then we show the footer. Now before that, you can see we've got some ad code. So as you can see, I'm logged into the website right now and I have no ads. If you are a Nerd Club member on the website, then you will also have no ads if you're logged in. But other people, if they went to our website right now, they would have ads. If we open up our website in Chromium right now, as you can see, we're not logged in here, so we get a login option instead of our user options. And then we've got an advertisement to join the Nerd Club, as well as a Google ad in the sidebar. At the bottom, we've got a Google ad in addition to a Project Wonderful ad. And I actually don't really like how this looks at the bottom having 2 ads. I kind of think that that's too many ads. I was trying out this Project Wonderful thing for a little while. This is a smaller ad network. I've had some interesting people pay a few cents to have their ads appear here. This is a more direct way to sell ads to your website. But I may end up removing either the Project Wonderful ad or the second Google ad at some point. But yeah, we've got advertisement at the bottom of the screen because we are not logged in. And if we look at our global HTML template, down here we've got a timcode line that says start if is in group 1 or 9. So it's going to show this to anyone who is in the user group either 1 or 9, and then this is our ad code. Now what are these 1 and 9? Well, if we go to our user groups, which it's under security and manage user groups, we can edit user group. As you can see, we have 5 user groups on our installation here, and you could add more of these if you want. You can see I've got a custom one for the Nerd Club. But we have guests, administrators, Nerd Club, staff, and regular member logged in, but not part of the Nerd Club. So if we go to the guest and we hover over the edit button, you can see it says edit number 1. So guest is ID 1. It's group ID 1. And then we've got members are group ID 9. So if you're part of either guests or regular members, it's going to show this entire block of HTML and JavaScript, which is going to show the ads. And then if you're not part of one of those groups, if you're part of the administrators group, the Nerd Club group, or the staff group, then it is not going to show that. It just doesn't even load the block, because if you're paying us, or if you are us, then we're not going to show you ads. But if you're a regular old guest, or if you're a non-paying member of the website, then we're going to put a couple of ads on the screen. So once again, incredibly powerful users and groups system here in Composr. Makes it super easy to show things based on if you're a member or not. And we're going to have some more examples of that coming up in a little bit. But first, that's the front page. We just went through the entire template for the home page of this website. How about the video player page? Well, first of all, I'll just open up the most recent video that we've got here. We recently got a new capture card for Extra Life, and I decided to test it out by playing some single-player GameCube games over on the Wednesday night casual gaming stream. So I've been uploading some Super Mario Brothers videos recently. So this is a recent video that I've put on the website. Now, if you haven't watched a video on nerdonthestreet.com in a little while, you might notice this page looks pretty different. I recently completely overhauled the video player page. I got rid of the sidebar because if you're watching a video, you want it to be as big as possible. This is the YouTube embed that we're using for now, and then underneath it we've got the title of the video, and then we've got some information about it, we've got the description, and we've got the new comments box, which has been restyled to look a lot better than it used to as well. Now for the example that we are going to walk through all of the code for, I actually don't want to use this video. Because I'm working on rolling out a new video player that's not the YouTube player, and it looks a little bit more professional. So we're going to go and try and find that. Now real quick, this Oracle hard drive video we had some comments on. So this is what comments look like now. I'm still working on tweaking the CSS a little bit, but I did spend some good time making the comments look a lot better than they used to recently. So if you leave a comment, this is what it looks like when someone leaves a comment. This is what it looks like when I reply to a comment. And you can click reply and it brings you down to reply. So yeah, that's how that's going. But I'm actually going to go and find an older video to do our next couple of examples with. We'll go ahead and pick the Blue Yeti unboxing back from June 2014 here. And as you can see, this is not the YouTube player. This is a custom video player for our website. Now this is not part of Composr, so I'm not going to talk about it in depth. But it's styled a bit nicer, so I wanted to have this on the screen during this whole portion. This is what the video player is going to look like for all of our videos coming soon, and I'll talk about that in a future video again. So this is a video player page. And as you can see, like I said, there is no sidebar here. Now how we did that was actually, once again, not part of timcode. It has a little bit to do with timcode. It's not integrated into our templates, I'll say. So once again, just like before, we've got the top of the web page, we've got the HTML head, obviously, and then we've got the actual header that we see. That stuff is all part of global HTML wrap, so we do see that stuff all the way down there. Now when we get to this middle section, down here, rather than loading a comcode page, we're actually going to load an article, a news article. And content management will be the very next thing I talk about. But to address how we're hiding the sidebar on this page, we are going to once again go and find the comcode page for the left sidebar. right here. And you can either find it through the list of ComCode pages to edit, or you can actually get to it a little bit easier from a page that does have the sidebar. You can click this Edit in Zone Editor button, and then you can just come right here, and it's the same code that you can get in the full page editor over on the Choose Page section of the admin zone. Now right here, this is getting kind of complicated once again, but the first 2 lines we have here are temp code lines. Even though this is a ComCode page, we can actually use temp code in it. And these first 2 lines are saying they are starting temp code blocks, basically, that say do not show this if you're in one of these sections. It says start what's inside of this block if the page that we're on is not equal to Nerd Club join. So if you're on the Nerd Club page, which that's not going to work for me because I'm signed in. If you're not signed in and you go to the Nerd Club page, this is the Nerd Club join page, and it says if you're on this page, do not show the sidebar, or rather it says only show the sidebar if you're not on this page. And then it also says only show this sidebar if not in string self URL /news/view. So if the page that we're on includes /news/view, if that is included in that, then not flips it, so we're not going to show all of this stuff inside of this temp code block. And at the end here, you can see we have 2 end tags, because just like HTML, you can nest blocks, but they all have to open and close equally. So if our URL includes /news/view, we're not going to show the sidebar. Now you might be wondering how we're not seeing the sidebar if our URL does not include /news/view. This is actually not part of Composr, this little hack that I threw together here. I thought that having /news/view in the URL of every link I shared looked a little unprofessional. I wanted it to say episode, kind of like Rooster Teeth's website does. Now I still have the category in my URL, but it says episode there instead of /news/view. Now I'm actually accomplishing that through Apache, our web server that we're using. And I'm going to SSH into the website right now. So we are logged into our web server now, and we are in the main nerdonthestreet.com directory. And we are going to go into our .htaccess file. Now I think if you try and visit this at nerdonthestreet.com/.htaccess, yeah, you don't have permission to look at this file. But this is a little video exclusive here. Take a look at our htaccess file. Most of this is default Composr stuff, except for like making the uploads bigger. So most of this is not going to be anything you can find out on your own anyway. However, you can see we've got here in the middle of our htaccess file, we've actually got a comment I added here that says custom stuff for videos, hey Jacob over here, so that when I'm scrolling through this file, I can quickly see where this custom rule that I added is. I added a rewrite rule, and this is a regular expression that adds in episode and replaces episode anytime that /news/view is in a URL. So Composr, as far as it's concerned, this is like I said, a little bit complicated. As far as Composr is concerned, this URL actually says /news/view, because this /episode here is actually /news/view. And if we actually go to this website right here, it actually still works, because I knew when I was designing the new URL scheme, I knew that some links were already out there. I was already sharing links with /news/view. I didn't want to break all of my old links. So /episode rewrites to /news/view, and then Composr serves it. But as far as you're concerned as an end user, it looks like /episode, and then we make Composr actually write its own links with /episode. For instance, as you can see, I'm hovering. Look at the bottom left-hand corner of the window right now. The link that Composr generated, obviously I didn't go and add in an href HTML tag for every single one of my 597 videos. Composr generates all of these links as part of the content management functionality. And after I implemented this HTTP rewrite rule, we'll go ahead and get out of that. I actually came in here into our templates, and if we go to block main news and we look in here, this is actually the block that gets called for the home page. This is the main news block here, and you can actually see that with a handy tool at the bottom of every page. We can turn on template names as HTML code. Make that come here. And then in our HTML comments, we can actually see start template comcode page screen and then start template block main news. So it loads up this block main news that we've got here, and then we load up our content here. You can see the next thing that gets loaded is a template called news box for each individual box. And if we open up that template, news underscore box, you can see I've edited that one. And if we come in here, you can see the ahref that gets generated for that link on our main page and any page that's got these news boxes here. The link that gets generated comes from the full URL that Composr generates. And making that change from /news/view to /episode, that was actually an edit I had to make in the PHP file for the news block, the news comcode block. Now if we pull down our symbols, directives, and parameters section here, all of these parameters are specific to the news block, and the news block is a PHP file. So once again, getting even way more in depth than I wanted to in this video, we're going to go to nerdonthestreet.com/code editor. I'm actually going to turn on FTP access to the server for the duration of this video. I keep it turned off normally, but this is the Composr code editor. Composr even comes with just a simple text editor that you can use to edit any text file in your web server directory. And in here, we've got sources, custom /block/news, main news here. We're going to edit that PHP file, and this is the PHP that actually runs every time you call the main news comcode block. So when you type in this hard bracket block, and then on the inside of the block you put main_news, then it's going to call this PHP file. If we do a quick search for /episode, here is where it used to have /news/view here. Oh, and I've actually just made a replace function there. So as you can see, there's a bunch of code that generates the link, and I don't want to have to worry about that. The content management system does that for me. Now it has this build URL function that's part of Composer's code, and then it used to make full_URL, the variable, it used to make that the output of build URL. Now what I've done is I've just renamed the original variable to almost full URL, and then I've added in a second full URL, so the original variable name, and then I've replaced any time that /news/view/ comes up, replace that with /episode instead from our original built URL. So this is getting into very basic PHP stuff, and this is actually a little bit hacky if you think about it, but considering how many thousands of lines of code run every time you see a single page on the website, adding 2 more lines is not going to slow it down significantly. And now anything else that was using that full URL variable, I didn't change that final variable name, so anything else can still use full URL and it'll still work. And that's how I got it to change from /news/view to /episode on the links that it generates. Even though, once again, for access control and for deciding if it's going to show things or not, like the sidebar, even though this says /episode, that's an HTTP rewrite happening, and Apache knows that we're actually at /news/view. That's what it tells Composr that our current URL actually is. So we're going to get out of our code editor, and if we go over here, that's why we can say /news/view, and if it sees that we are on a page that we are viewing content, then that trips the not in here. It says this is not a news view page, this is a news view page, so it's not going to show anything inside of here, which means there's no com code and no HTML within this entire page, which means that as far as global HTML is concerned, panel left is empty. So the if non-empty is false, it is empty, so this if statement doesn't get triggered, and we just leave out the entire panel left. So if we right click here and inspect element, you can see we've got our header here, and then we've got just the global middle outer once again, div. There is no hidden sidebar or anything. I actually did that one properly. Now, aside from the sidebar being hidden, we can also look at how this page is built here. Pretty simple page. Like I said, it's just got a video embed, and then it's got some text and then a comment box. The comment box is actually the most complicated for me as the administrator of the website to deal with. So we've got a template, and if we go into edit templates, we can go to the news entry screen template, and this is the template that is when you're on the page of a news entry. It calls the news entry screen template. We'll bring this right over here. The first thing the news entry screen does is it runs some JavaScript to set the global middle outer, which we have assigned the custom ID. Once again, it just gives it a class by default, but that is the global middle outer float surrounder div. I gave it the custom ID, global middle outer cust ID. So the first thing it does is it comes in here and it gets rid of the padding on the left and right, because if we go to, say, our home page, you can see there's a little bit of padding on the left and on the right of all these videos, and we want that because if there was no padding on any page, then there's not a whole lot of space between like the sidebar and our content here. So we do want that padding normally, but I kind of cheated. I didn't go so far as to get rid of the padding within our templating system. I just put some JavaScript in the news entry template that runs and sets those both to 0. Once again, the way I look at it is there's already a ton of JavaScript for like the video player and even the comment box. There's a bunch of JavaScript that runs anyway, so it's not like we're multiplying our load time by a whole lot. It's just going to add a couple milliseconds max. But that's how we're doing that for right now. The next thing in here is our div class equals video player wrapper, sorry. And as you can see right here, we've got start if non-empty video.js, which that's getting into content management, and I'm actually going to split that off into a second video because this one's getting too long. But basically when I'm editing and adding, I'll get into this as much greater depth next video, but when I'm editing or adding a video, I've got a text box here that I call video.js, although you can put a YouTube embed or a Dailymotion or anything else in here. This is the top above the title, and then this is beneath the title on the screen. So video.js and then news article is beneath the title. Video.js goes on top, so it's going to call that, it's going to put that in the div class video player wrapper, which is going to be this right here, video player wrapper. You can see that's got the background color black to make it look kind of like YouTube. It's got the padding left and right, that's right there. Underneath that, we've got div class custom screen top, which ironically enough used to be the top of the screen, but now I've moved it to the middle here. And that would be our title, and this stuff I can't just include. You know, I can't type in, I can type in a title theoretically, but I can't type in the number of views because that's always changing, and I would like the added date and time to be automatic as well. So that stuff is handled by the content management system. Here's our title. All you have to do is put title in brackets, and the temp code throws that title in there. This mark red, this is actually some temp code that runs, and that actually sets this as watched. And as you can see here on our front page, you've got these watched indicators. Now I'm sure I've watched all of the videos. Yeah, I've watched just about everything. Oh, all right, so here's one that does not have a watched indicator. So you can see I've got introducing and installing file run. I'm going to open this page up, and it just loaded the page. This one, I haven't gotten around to moving the video on top of the title yet. Like I said, website's under construction, but this is a news entry page, which means that when I loaded this, it ran this line of code, mark red, news, and then the ID would be the number of this news. For this one, looks like 456 based on the URL. Now if we come back over here and we refresh, after we refresh, there is a watched indicator there because we marked it as red. And that is something that's like PHP and SQL, and I don't want to have to worry about that stuff. Composr takes care of that for me, which is great. I did have to implement this code myself, and the mark red, that entire system is a plugin for Composr. That's not even built into Composr, but it is made by the developer who makes Composr. It's not a third-party thing, and it was very easy for me to implement. So that runs, and then underneath all of that, we've got div class equals video description, and that's got our news full. So once again, we've got video.js on the top. On the bottom, we have our quote-unquote news article. Now, of course, I only put the description here, but Composr refers to this as news full because it's the full news article if it was an article. So I have that underneath the title. It is underneath, as you can see, video description is the class. Next up in the line, we've got content screen comments, and that's just a single line of temp code to load the comments there. Now again, if we actually wanted to see what templates are making up the comments here, we can open up template names as HTML comments. Hey, what's up? Open this up here, right click on our comments box, and come down here. So the template is comments underscore wrapper. Super easy to find the name of the template, and if we wanted to edit that template, all we'd have to do is come over here and find comments underscore wrapper right there, edit, and you can see I've already edited it. because it is under the Nerd on the Street theme. And this is the actual HTML and other templates that go into this that make up our comments box. That is all included on the news entry screen by one single line. All of this complicated, once again, PHP, JavaScript, all kinds of stuff, is all just one line in this template. And then this entire template, we only have to specify once because I want the same layout for every single news entry screen. So then we can have all of these different videos that all have the same page because they're all running off that same template. They've just got different stuff plugged into them in the content management system catalog. And that is where I'm going to leave you off with this video. Next time we'll go into that catalog itself. For now though, I think this was a complicated enough video as it is. Look how many tabs I've got open just from an hour of talking about Composr. This is the content management system I use for nerdonthestreet.com. I've been using this really for years. This particular install has been running for a little over a year now. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments or over on nerdonthestreet.com. Check out the forums here. I'll talk about those in another video as well. But yeah, let me know if you have any comments about Composr, specifically templating. For right now, this video was about templating. Next video, we will get into content management, and then we'll do just the little auxiliary stuff after that. But yeah, I hope you found this interesting. This is how every single page on our website is built. Composr is extremely themable and extremely customizable, templatable. It is great. And once again, the website is compo.sir. Check it out, give it a download. And yeah, hopefully this video was at least a little bit coherent. So I've still got plenty more for next time, but for now, I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.